Tons of Elden Ring and FromSoft fans renounce any kind of sorcery, calling it easy mode, which, let's be honest, is a really dumb way to gatekeep a playstyle. Yeah, some magic setups can deal insane damage, but so can melee builds. I mean, have you ever seen Giant Crusher with Royal Knight's Resolve? The thing melts bosses, dealing tens of thousands of damage in just a couple of hits. But for some reason, when melee does it, it's cool, and when magic does it, it's easy mode and brain dead, which is kind of weird and is definitely a double standard. You'd think we're still stuck in Dark Souls 1 with the mentality where magic was absolutely busted. But to be honest, in Elden Ring, magic isn't nearly as free as people make it out to be. So let's break down why this whole magic is easy mode argument doesn't really hold up. First, let's talk about casting speed. Even the heaviest melee weapons only take 1 to 2 seconds to charge up their power attacks, and that's without considering jumping attacks, which are even faster. Now take Combat Azor, one of the strongest spells in the game. It takes 3 full seconds to fire off. 3 seconds, which might not sound like much, but in a boss fight, that is an eternity. Now, you might be thinking, oh wow, 1 extra second, big deal. But no, it really is. A single second can mean the difference between Godfrey destroying you, sending you into the next dimension, or you dodging at the last moment. Melee weapons let you react more quickly, but magic, you're locked into animations that can get you killed if you put them in the wrong timing. And let's be real, if a boss is rushing you down, what's easier? Swinging a great sword that lets you move while attacking, or trying to time a 3-second spellcast while standing still? And good luck trying to cast Combat Azor without much setup, because if you're not using something like Terra Magica, Cerulean Hidden Tear, or bosses with phase change downtimes, you're probably not landing the entire beam anyway. But casting speed isn't the only issue. Magic also struggles with stance damage, which is a huge problem in Elden Ring. If you don't know, stance damage is like a hidden meter in boss fights that, when broken, lets you critically strike bosses or at least get some breathing room until they get back up. Melee weapons, especially colossal weapons, great swords, and hammers, even some Ashes of War, do insane stance damage. You can break a boss's posture in a couple of heavy hits, giving you free damage and time to heal or rebuff. Magic? Not so much. Most spells do very little stance damage, except for gravity spells like Rock Sling. So good luck staggering bosses like Malekith or Radagon before they delete your entire HP bar. And this matters. Breaking stance isn't just about dealing more damage. It's about creating openings to heal and rebuff, which is critical in late game fights where bosses barely give you any time to breathe. Then there's stat distribution, which heavily favors melee builds. The highest strength requirement in the game is 60 strength for the Giant Crusher. Meanwhile, the best spells in the game, like Stars of Ruin or Combat Azor, need 70 intelligence. This means that melee players get more points to put into survivability, like Vigor for health, Endurance for armor and stamina. Meanwhile, mages have to dump points into Mind and Intelligence, meaning that they have lower health and are easier to one-shot, less stamina, which means it's harder to use multiple dodges in a row, and worse armor, which means you're more likely to get staggered or interrupted. Most mages can get two-shot by late-game bosses. If you think melee players have it rough, try fighting Melania with 40 intelligence and 30 vigor. You're getting absolutely obliterated if she even glances in your direction. A lot of people say that magic has range, so just don't get hit, which sounds great on paper, but here's the reality. Late game bosses do not give a damn about your range. Look at bosses like Radagon with magic resistance and can parry spells, and Malekith, who is hyper aggressive and barely gives you any openings, Godfrey, which literally tackles you if you try and back away, and Melania, who will chase you down with every fiber of her being. Not to mention, Elden Ring's boss arenas get smaller and smaller as the game goes on. In Lindel, Fair Missoula, and the Hallowed Tree, you're often fighting in incredibly tight spaces, meaning you can't always run and cast safely. And if that wasn't bad enough, there's flask allocation. Most melee players run 8 to 10 Crimson Flasks, meaning they can heal a lot in fights. Mages, they need Cerulean Flasks to keep casting their spells, meaning they usually have way fewer healing flasks. In long boss fights, especially against Elden Beast or Millennia, running out of FP basically means that you are completely done. Now, let's talk about PvP, because if Magic was so easy, it would dominate PvP, right? But no, most of the top tier PvP builds are solely melee focused. And the reasoning behind this is that spells are predictable. Most players know how to dodge Comet Azor, Stars of Ruin, a Duelist Moonblade, and other spells like that on reaction. Fast melee players also counter mages hard. Someone spamming Bloodhound Step or Light Roll can just dodge everything you cast. And anti-magic's tools do even exist, like Carrying Retaliation, which literally reflects your own spells back at you. If melee was truly hard mode and magic was easy mode, truly it would make sense that magic would be the meta for PvP, and that is just not the case. The best PvP setups are bleed weapons, thrusting swords, and high poise strength builds. Magic is viable, but it's so far from press a button to win than most people think. And at the end of the day, wrapping this up, why are people gatekeeping playstyles in Elden Ring in the first place? Yeah, big bonk weapons are fun, I get it, but why ruin the experience for Magic players just because you think they're making the game easier? If Magic was so easy, why don't you try it? And why don't you just steamroll every boss in the game? Oh, that's right, because Magic actually has real downsides. Gatekeeping playstyles doesn't make you better, it just kind of makes you a jackass. That's it for this one. Like or dislike if you agree or disagree, and I'll catch you in the next one.